Hey, customers. Coming to Netflix on June 22nd. I was a little surprised that this is a Netflix show and not something coming from HBO, since Warner Brothers has been the ones that have been making all the Skull Island, King of the Monsters, Godzilla stuff like that. So, guess it's coming to Netflix. I'll be checking it out when it comes out on June 22nd. We had The Color Purple. It's going to be getting a musical adaptation of the novel starring Holly Bailey. They had a trailer this week. The original novel had already been adapted to a musical for the stage. This is the first time the movie is going to be a musical as well. The original movie from, I believe, 85 or something like that was just a drama. Holly Bailey does have an incredible voice. We'll get into that a little later with the Little Mermaid review, and she is going to probably kill it in this as well. Idris Elba has a new movie coming to Apple TV called Hijack. It's going to be a thriller movie. It's about a plane hijacking. Looks like it's probably going to be some crazy fun to check out. I love Idris Elba, so this should be pretty good. And then Barbie had another trailer drop this week. It's a lot more about the plot in this trailer. We see that Barbie and Ken are going to be coming to the real world. It may be surprising, but I'm really looking forward to this movie. It's going to also be fun to see who wins between this and Oppenheimer at the box office on July 21st. For headlines this week, we have Vin Diesel saying that there's going to be more Fast and the Furious spinoffs, including a female-led movie. This isn't too surprising since we've already had one spinoff in this series with the Hobbs and Shaw movie. Even if these next two movies for the Fast series were supposed to be the finale, we should have known that there was always going to be more because you can't stop this franchise. It makes too much money to let it die. For Toy Story news, Toy Story 5 was officially announced that they're going to be making this. Wasn't a huge fan of 4. Hopefully this kind of makes it back to 3's quality because 3 was so fantastic and really should have been the finale. But hopefully this one does something good. Tarantino keeps dropping a little bit more hints about his new and supposedly his last movie, The Critic, or The Movie Critic. Apparently it's going to be based on a real person who was like a second-rate movie critic who used to write for porno magazines. And apparently he's going to be looking for someone that he hasn't worked with before to play the lead. So Tarantino always makes some great films. I'm sure this is going to be good as well. It is surprising that this is actually going to be his last one. We'll see if he's actually going to stick to that. But I'm looking forward to this movie as well. Will Ferrell was announced he's going to be playing John Madden in a movie. I mean, I love the Madden video games. John Madden was a character in the booth all the time when he was doing the sporting events, you know, when he's commentating football. I'm sure Will Ferrell will do a great job with this. We've seen him already do other sports movies, so I'm sure he can handle this pretty well. And more sad news, we had Ray Stevenson passing away this week at age 55 or 58. At this time, there's no information on the cause of death, but we do look forward to seeing his final performance in the Ahsoka series this fall. And then we also had another surprise passing. Tina Turner passed away at age 83. She had been fighting intestinal cancer for many years, and finally it got to her. So that's two very sad people to lose in 1 week. And then for reviews this week, we have The Machine starring Bert Kreischer. I'm a huge fan of Bert. His stand-up's great. Him and Tom Segura on Two Bears, One Cave is a great podcast. This movie is based on Bert's like most popular stand-up routine and gives a new spin to the story and kind of adds more to it. Concept is a lot of fun, but the film does kind of miss the mark. Don't get me wrong, there are some funny moments in the film, but in order to give this movie a dope, I need to be cracking up the whole time, and it just doesn't hit that. It is good though. It's solid. You're gonna have a good time if you go see it and you like action comedies. If you like Burt, you'll like it as well. But overall, it's just gonna be an eye for me. Burt is not a great actor though, so don't go in expecting that from him. And then Love and Death, Elizabeth Olsen's show that was on HBO for the last couple weeks has finally ended. The show was fantastic from beginning to end. Elizabeth Olsen's great. She's one of the best performers in Hollywood at this time, and she really showed her talents in this show. Out of the 4 HBO mini series crime dramas that I've seen, this is going to slot in as my second favorite one, right behind The Undoing, starring Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman, but ahead, and it's going to be ahead of Mayor of Easttown and The Outsider, though. So definitely check this out if you have HBO. It's one of the best things I've seen in a while. On a side note, there is one other miniseries from HBO that you should watch. It's called The Watchmen. Nobody really talks about it. It was one of the best things I've ever seen. But for Love and Death, this was a great miniseries, great crime drama. I mean, the story's interesting. It's definitely a dope for me. Check it out. And then for the other film released this week that's really big is The Little Mermaid from Disney. What can I really say about this movie? Holly Bailey's fantastic. Like I said a little earlier, her voice is just incredible, and she kills it as Ariel in this. The visuals were fantastic. Under the Sea in this new format looked great. It's really beautiful. It was great to see. There are some choices I didn't agree with, though, and it stops me from giving this movie a complete dope. I wasn't a fan of how they stretched out a lot of those songs for too long. They would cut a song as well. Like they'd go 2 minutes of a song, cut it. We'd get like 5 minutes of dialogue, and then they'd go back to the song. Not a fan of stuff like that. Just finish the song. Let's get to dialogue. Keep the story moving. Don't go back to the song after you're like talking already. It's kind of threw me off too much. Could have gone without that, and it happens multiple times throughout the film. The final fight was kind of weak as well. Prince Eric really doesn't do anything, which is fine since this is really Ariel's film anyway. But could have just done more with the fight. It's super fast. You don't really even get to see Ursula that well. It's like they make it too dark. It's like the only time the visuals in this film aren't good is they just make her way too dark and you really can't see anything. Prince Eric also gets his own song that, man, I checked out for those 5 minutes of him singing because he is just awful. The song was bad. He's a bad singer. They should have cut that from the jump. They did not need to make this movie an extra hour longer than the animated one was if this is the kind of stuff they were putting in there. Overall, this isn't the worst Disney live action film I've seen, but it's definitely not the best. It's going to be an eye for me on this one as well. But if you like The Little Mermaid, I'm sure it's going to be coming to Disney Plus in a couple months and you can just catch it there. And customers, as usual, thank you for stopping by for another episode of Frankie's Fast Film. And you'll see our outro card that's going to have all the things that are out to watch right now. And we'll see you guys next week.